I bought my dream home in complete secrecy because I knew my family would try to take it from me. That wasn't paranoia. It was self-preservation. My name is Maribel Rowan. For 30 years, I lived in a cage built from my family's expectations. Every decision I made needed their approval. My college major, my career path, even who I dated. My parents loved me, sure, but they treated my life like their personal project. And then there was Serena, my younger sister, the golden child, the princess, the one whose feelings always came first. Maribel, don't upset your sister. Maribel, be reasonable. Maribel, why can't you just go along with things? 4 years ago, I landed a remote position with an international logistics company. The salary was incredible, enough to dream bigger than I'd ever allowed myself. But I didn't tell my family. The last time I mentioned a promotion, Serena cried about how unfair it was that good things always happen to me. My parents sided with her, of course. They scolded me for showing off. That day, I learned to keep my victories private. So I saved. For years. I researched neighborhoods, property values, interest rates. I watched every home tour video I could find. I even taught myself interior design principles. After months of searching, I found it. A 3-bedroom cottage with pale brick, soft gray shutters, and a wraparound porch. Nothing extravagant, but absolutely perfect. And more importantly, mine alone. I signed the papers without telling a soul. When the realtor handed me the keys, I cried in my car for 20 minutes. These weren't just keys to a house, they were keys to freedom. For 2 glorious weeks, I lived in peaceful bliss. I unpacked boxes slowly, arranging furniture exactly how I wanted. No one questioning my choices, no one barging in unannounced, no sister borrowing my things. I should have known it wouldn't last. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone violate your boundaries repeatedly? If you have, you'll feel this story deep in your soul. And if you know that kind of pain, hit subscribe. Not because it helps me, but because stories like this remind us that sometimes silence and strength are the best revenge. My family has never understood the concept of personal space. They treated my previous apartment like a 24-hour convenience store, open to them whenever, however. My parents still kept a spare key to my old place. They'd drop by unannounced, sometimes rearranging my furniture because it looked better this way, or filling my fridge with food they preferred, not what I actually ate. Serena was worse. She'd sleep over without asking, use all my expensive hair products, and borrow clothes that mysteriously returned with stains or tears. Or sometimes didn't return at all. When I objected, I was labeled as dramatic and selfish. "We're family," my mother would say, as if those 3 words excused everything. This house was different. This house was my fortress. I didn't even share my new address with friends until the security system was installed. The first sign something was wrong came on a Friday afternoon. I had just returned from grocery shopping when I noticed my front porch light was on. I never leave lights on during the day. For a moment, I brushed it off. Maybe I'd bumped the switch on my way out that morning. Things happen. But when I stepped inside, something felt different. A faint floral smell hung in the air, the distinctive artificial lilac spray my mother had used in every home since I was a child. My heart froze in my chest. I searched every room, looking behind shower curtains and under beds like some paranoid detective. Everything looked untouched, perfectly in place. But that smell lingered, impossible to ignore. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing phantom footsteps, imaginary doors opening. I told myself I was being ridiculous. How could they possibly know about the house? I hadn't told anyone. The next morning, I tried to shake off my unease with a sunrise walk through my new neighborhood. The birds were singing. The air smelled like pine and possibility, and for a while, I felt that peace again. This is what freedom feels like, I thought, as I turned back toward home. But when I rounded the corner to my street, all that peace evaporated instantly. 2 cars sat in my driveway, my father's black Audi and Serena's red Jeep. My legs went weak, my throat closed up. How had they found out? With trembling hands, I approached my front door. I inserted my key and turned, but the door wasn't locked. I pushed open my unlocked front door and stepped into my worst nightmare. My mother stood in my kitchen, reorganizing my cabinets. She had already emptied half of them, with dishes and glasses spread across the countertops. Dad was installing some tacky light fixture over the dining table that I'd never choose for myself. And there was Serena, sprawled across my couch, drinking hot chocolate from my favorite mug like she owned the place. When she saw me, her lips curled into that smile, the one that always meant she'd gotten her way. "There you are," she waved casually. "This place is actually cute. I told Mom and Dad it was worth moving into." Moving into? My house? I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The room tilted around me. Dad looked up from his toolkit and beckoned me over. "We were surprised you bought a house without telling us. Good thing the real estate agent recognized our last name and called us. We figured you'd need help getting settled." "The agent told you?" My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. Mom turned from the cabinets, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Don't be upset, sweetie. We needed to make sure it was suitable." Serena already picked the bedroom upstairs with the morning sun. She wants to move in this weekend. Serena clapped her hands like an excited child. "It'll be so fun, like college roommates but better, and the 3rd bedroom can be Dad's home office when he visits." I blinked, trying to process what was happening. They weren't just visiting. They weren't just overstepping. They were colonizing my home, taking over my sanctuary before I'd even had a chance to enjoy it. "How did you get in?" I managed to ask, my throat tight. Mom smiled proudly. "We stopped by the real estate office yesterday. That nice agent, what was her name, honey?" "Leslie," Dad supplied. "Yes, Leslie. She remembered us from when we looked at houses last year. When we explained we were your parents, she was happy to let us see the place." "She gave you a key?" I whispered. Serena laughed. "Mom can charm anyone, and it's a good thing, too. This place needed a woman's touch. I've already ordered some curtains for the living room. Those blinds are so boring. They'd invaded my private space, violated my boundaries, made plans for my home without even asking, and they expected me to thank them for it." I closed my eyes and counted to 10. When I opened them, I hoped they'd be gone, just a terrible hallucination. They weren't. "You need to leave," I said quietly. My mother's smile faltered. "What do you mean, leave? We just got here. This is my house. I didn't invite you. I didn't give you keys. I need you to leave. Now." The room went silent. In 30 years, I had never spoken to them like this. Dad set down his screwdriver. "Maribel, we're just trying to help. This is what families do." "No," I replied, finding strength in my voice. "This is what our family does. You decide what my life should look like without asking me. You take over my space. You ignore my boundaries." Serena rolled her eyes dramatically. "Here we go with the boundaries speech again. It's just a house, Maribel. You don't need all this space for yourself. It's selfish." Selfish! I could feel something breaking inside me. I worked for this. I saved for this. I planned for this. It's mine. Mom stepped forward, her voice softening into that patronizing tone she used whenever she thought I was being unreasonable. "Sweetie, you'll get lonely here all by yourself. Serena needs a place to stay now that her lease is ending. This house is perfect for a family. And since you're not starting one anytime soon," Serena added with a smirk. Her words gutted me. That was their real opinion of my life. A waste of space and resources that could better serve Serena. Get out. My voice was steel now. Take your things and leave. Right now. Dad's face darkened. You're seriously kicking out your own family? After all we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me? Control every decision, dismiss every boundary, treat me like Serena's supporting character? Serena stood up, finally looking worried. You're overreacting. We thought you'd be happy to have company. You thought I'd be happy to have you take over the one thing I've built for myself? The one space that's actually mine? You wouldn't even have this house without our support, Serena shouted. That was the moment something inside me finally snapped. A lifetime of being overshadowed, dismissed, guilt-tripped. It crystallized into a cold certainty. They would never respect my boundaries, not unless I forced them to. They left angry. Mom crying silently, Dad tight-lipped with disappointment, Serena huffing and slamming the door behind them. They were furious that I'd broken the script, the one where I always gave in. The moment their cars disappeared down the street, I collapsed on the stairs and sobbed until my throat burned raw, not from guilt, from grief. I mourned the family I wished I had, one that respected me, valued my independence, and celebrated my success instead of resenting it. But grief doesn't pay bills, and it certainly doesn't secure a home. So I dried my tears, picked up my phone, and made a call, not to apologize, not to explain myself. I called a locksmith. Emergency service? Yes, today, right now. While I waited, I walked through every room of my house, touching the walls, the door frames, the windows, everything they had planned to take from me. The locksmith arrived within the hour. An older man with kind eyes who didn't ask questions when I requested every lock changed. He just nodded and got to work. Front door, back door, garage, windows? All of it, I said firmly. Everything. He worked efficiently, replacing deadbolts, installing window locks, reprogramming the garage door opener. 6 hours of drilling, fitting, testing. I handed over my credit card without flinching at the cost. This wasn't an expense, it was an investment in my sanity. As he handed me the new keys, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I answered, bracing myself. Maribel, she began, her voice artificially calm. We've given you time to cool down. Dad and I expect you to drop off new keys tomorrow. My hand tightened around the phone. No. Excuse me? No, I repeated, stronger this time. This is my house. Don't be ridiculous. I bought it, I pay for it, I live in it, alone. The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled too tight. You can't be serious, she finally whispered. I've never been more serious in my life. You know what hurts the most? Not what they did, but that I still tried to make them proud after everything. If you've ever given people too many chances, you already understand this pain. Don't just scroll, subscribe. Join people who've been through it too, because you deserve stories that make you feel seen. 2 days passed, no texts, no calls. The silence felt like the deep breath before a storm. Early Sunday morning, my phone buzzed with an alert. Driveway camera, motion detected. On the screen, I watched my family's cars pull up. Serena stepped out first, dragging a suitcase behind her. Mom and Dad followed, carrying boxes labeled Serena's room. They hadn't listened to a word I said. They still thought I would fold. The doorbell rang. Hard, aggressive, not a request, a demand. I smoothed my shirt, took a deep breath, and walked calmly to the door. Instead of opening it, I stepped outside onto the porch and closed the door behind me. Serena's eyes widened with shock. You changed the locks? Yes. Are you insane? Dad barked. We drove all the way here to help you move Serena in. I crossed my arms. I never agreed to that. Mom clutched her purse like a shield. Maribel, this has gone far enough. Stop being difficult and open the door. This is my house, I said, each word precise and clear. You don't live here. You never have. And you never will. Serena's face flushed red. I already gave up my apartment. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. You made that decision without consulting me. We are your family, Dad growled, stepping closer. We shouldn't need permission. Yes, you should, I interrupted. Being family doesn't give you the right to take what's mine. Serena scoffed, trying a new tactic. This house is worth living in. And you know I need somewhere to stay right now. Stop being so selfish. No, I said simply. You want a place where you can freeload. And you assumed I'd give you mine. The silence that followed was the most satisfying moment of my life. Mom tried one final approach, her voice trembling with manufactured emotion. If you close this door on us, you're choosing strangers over your family. I looked at her, really looked. I saw the emotional manipulation, the entitlement, the absolute certainty that I would give in like always. But I didn't. I'm choosing myself, I said. Then I went inside and locked the door. The nuclear fallout began within hours. First came the text messages, dozens of them. Mom, I can't believe you would treat your own family this way. Dad, after everything we've sacrificed for you. Mom, your sister is crying. I hope you're happy. Dad, family sticks together, always. Then the voicemails, each one longer and more guilt-laden than the last. My mother's voice breaking as she questioned where she went wrong raising such a selfish daughter. By evening, Serena had taken it public. Her Instagram story featured her tearfully explaining how her narcissistic sister had left her homeless and betrayed the family. Her friends commented with shock and outrage, tagging me in posts about toxic family members and the importance of loyalty. I didn't respond to any of it. That first night alone in my secured home was strange. The silence felt both liberating and accusing. Had I gone too far? Was I truly the villain they painted me to be? Around midnight, my phone lit up with a message from my coworker, Jen. Just saw your sister's posts. You okay? Call me if you need to talk. I hesitated, then called her. To my surprise, Jen understood completely. My brother did the same thing to me after my divorce, she said. Some people think family means unlimited access to everything you have. That conversation changed something in me. For the first time, I realized my instincts were valid. People who respected me didn't need access to my home to feel connected to me. People who loved me wouldn't punish me for setting boundaries. Over the next week, I muted my family's contacts and social media accounts. I focused on making my house truly mine, hanging art, planting flowers, creating the sanctuary I'd dreamed of. Each night, I walked through the rooms, running my fingers along the walls, feeling the quiet dignity of a space that belonged only to me. This house wasn't just a building anymore. It was freedom. It was self-respect. It was the line I finally refused to let them cross. 3 months passed with minimal contact. I'd answered a few texts from my parents with short, polite responses. Nothing from Serena. I was healing. My home felt like mine at last. Then came the day that changed everything. Again. I ran into my mother's oldest friend, Patricia, at the grocery store. She seemed surprised to see me, almost uncomfortable. Maribel, how are you holding up? Such a difficult time for everyone. I nodded vaguely, ready to move on when she added, I still can't believe your parents promised Serena she could live with you permanently. When they told me their plan at book club last winter, I wondered if you knew about it. My hand froze on the shopping cart. Last winter? Patricia's eyes widened. Oh dear. Did they not? She trailed off, realizing her mistake. I pressed her gently, and the truth spilled out. My parents had been making financial promises to Serena they couldn't keep. Promises involving property, inheritance, and housing security. They had assured her months before I even bought the house that she would eventually move in with me. Your mother said it was all arranged, Patricia explained uncomfortably, that you'd agreed to let Serena stay while she saved for her own place. I felt sick. I never agreed to anything. Patricia looked genuinely confused, but they were so certain. Your father even mentioned renovating the third bedroom into an office. That night, I dug through old emails my mother had forwarded me about family tax planning. In a thread she hadn't fully deleted, I found messages between my parents discussing the girls' housing situation and how Maribel will need to step up for her sister. There it was in black and white. Serena hadn't shown up at my door on a whim. My parents hadn't invaded my home impulsively. They were executing a plan they'd made before I even had keys. A plan that depended entirely on my compliance, on my lifetime pattern of giving in. My house wasn't just a house to them. It was an asset they felt entitled to control, just like me. The email was just the beginning. Once I started looking, evidence appeared everywhere. I searched Serena's name on social media and found posts from 2 months earlier showing her giving house tours to friends. The background? My living room, my kitchen, rooms she'd only visited once. She'd been tagging photos with our new house and moving day weeks before our confrontation. I called Leslie, my real estate agent, who confessed after some hesitation. Your parents came to the office claiming you asked them to collect the paperwork. When I hesitated, they insisted it was a family matter. Your father mentioned co-signing, even though he hadn't. I'm so sorry. I should have verified with you first. My hands trembled as I hung up. How deep did this go? A quick search of my mail revealed more shocks. Catalogs addressed to Serena at my address, a credit card statement, even a job application confirmation. She'd been using my address as her own for weeks. The most chilling discovery came from my aunt. She called to check on me, mentioning casually, "Your mother told everyone at Thanksgiving that the girls were getting a place together. We all assumed it was a joint purchase." Thanksgiving was 4 months before I even found this house. This wasn't just entitlement. This was calculated. While I'd been carefully saving, researching neighborhoods, and planning my future, my family had been making their own plans for my life, my home, my space. They had discussed it openly with others. They had promised Serena it was happening. They had told extended family it was a done deal, all without ever asking me. I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by evidence of their betrayal, and realized I'd been right to change those locks, right to stand my ground, right to choose myself, because they had never chosen me. When I finally stood my ground, they called me heartless. But tell me, where were they when I was breaking? If you've ever had to choose peace over people, this channel is your space. Subscribe, not for me, but for every quiet soul who took their power back. The doorbell rang early on a Tuesday morning. Not my family this time, a delivery truck. "Furniture delivery for Serena Rowan," the driver announced, checking his clipboard. I shook my head. "There must be a mistake. She doesn't live here." He frowned. "Says right here, bedroom set, delivery address confirmed yesterday by the customer." My stomach dropped. After weeks of silence, this was their new tactic? I refused the delivery and closed the door, hands shaking. 20 minutes later, my security camera pinged. Mom and Dad's car pulled into the driveway, followed by a moving truck. Serena jumped out first, pointing excitedly at the house. They thought I'd calmed down by now, that I was ready to be reasonable, that the old Maribel was back. I watched through the window as they approached, carrying boxes. Dad tried the front door handle, looking confused when it didn't open. Then they moved to the back of the house. My security camera showed Dad examining the back door, then reaching into his pocket for something. A key? An old spare? Whatever it was, it wouldn't work with the new locks. But that didn't stop him from trying. I watched in disbelief as he began attempting to force the door, jiggling the handle aggressively. This was no longer just boundary crossing. This was breaking and entering. I called the police. Someone is trying to enter my home without permission, I explained, my voice surprisingly steady. While waiting, I texted my family. Leave now. I've called the police. They didn't believe me. Through the security camera, I watched Mom roll her eyes and show the phone to Dad. He laughed and continued working on the door. 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. The looks on their faces, shock, embarrassment, outrage, as two officers approached them. Ma'am, one officer called to my mother. Do you live at this residence? It's my daughter's house, she stammered. We're just helping her sister move in. I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch. They don't have permission to be here. I've asked them repeatedly to leave. The officer turned back to my parents. Do you have keys to this residence? We should, Dad insisted. We're her parents. The officer's face remained neutral. Ma'am, do you want these individuals removed from your property? I took a deep breath. This was it, the final line. Yes, and I want it documented that they attempted to enter without permission. The family that had controlled my entire life was now being escorted off my property by police. They never expected that. Having police escort my family off my property changed everything. It wasn't just embarrassing for them, it was public. Neighbors watched, people talked. Their perfect family image cracked wide open, and they blamed me entirely. The retaliation started with a family-wide email from my mother. Subject line, concerning Maribel. She painted me as unstable, claimed I was having a mental health crisis, and suggested everyone approach with caution. She implied I'd become paranoid and delusional about my own family's intentions. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone received it. Then came Serena's crisis. Her apartment lease had ended. She really had given it up, counting on moving into my house. Now she was homeless because of me. She stayed on our cousin's couch, telling anyone who would listen how I'd abandoned her. My parents escalated further. Dad called threatening legal action, claiming they'd helped with the down payment and therefore had rights to the property. It was completely false, but that didn't stop him from saying it. I pulled together every financial record I had: bank statements, transfer receipts, mortgage documents, everything proving I'd purchased the house entirely on my own. The harassment intensified. Anonymous calls to my workplace questioning my stability. Concerns raised to my boss about my family situation affecting my work. Pizza deliveries I never ordered showing up at midnight. Then came the property damage. I woke one morning to find my mailbox destroyed. The next week, someone dumped trash across my front lawn. The final straw came when my car alarm blared at 3 a.m. Security footage showed Serena, clearly visible under the streetlight, keying a long, deep scratch down the driver's side door. Her face showed no hesitation, no remorse. Just pure, concentrated rage. I watched the footage 5 times, my heart pounding. This wasn't just pettiness anymore. This was destruction of property. This was criminal. And I had it all on camera. For the first time in my life, I didn't just have feelings about how my family treated me. I had evidence. Hard, undeniable, legally actionable evidence. And I was done being their victim. The next morning, I made 3 phone calls that would change everything. First, to a lawyer specializing in harassment cases. I brought the security footage, screenshots of threatening messages, and documentation of every incident. She listened carefully, occasionally making notes. This is textbook harassment, she said firmly. And that car damage? That's vandalism, a criminal offense. Second call, the police station, filing a formal complaint and requesting a restraining order. The officer who had removed my family previously remembered me. He was sympathetic, but direct. With this footage, we can charge your sister with property damage. Do you want to press charges? I hesitated only briefly. Yes. The third call went to Stanley Bennett, my parents' financial advisor. I'd met him at family gatherings over the years. He always seemed uncomfortable around my parents, and now I understood why. Maribel, he said carefully when I explained the situation. I can't discuss your parents' finances specifically, but hypothetically speaking, someone making promises about property they don't own, that could indicate deeper financial issues. That evening, I sent a group email to the same extended family members who had received my mother's message about my mental health crisis. I attached the security footage of Serena vandalizing my car, screenshots of threatening messages, and police report numbers. My message was simple. I've remained silent while false accusations were made about me. I won't be silent anymore. Here are the facts. Within hours, my phone lit up with responses. Shocked relatives who had only heard my parents' version, cousins expressing support, an aunt who admitted she'd always seen how differently I was treated. I also sent a certified letter to my parents and Serena. It contained 3 things: a copy of the restraining order, a complete record of my home purchase proving I bought it independently, and a book titled Boundaries: When to Say Yes, How to Say No. No angry message, no accusations, just facts and consequences. 2 days later, I learned something interesting through the family grapevine. Serena's promising job offer had fallen through after her background check revealed a pending vandalism charge. My parents were suddenly scrambling to support her, financially and legally. I hadn't planned this revenge. I had simply stopped accepting their abuse and started enforcing consequences, and it was working better than I could have imagined. After my email to the extended family, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing, not with hate or accusations, but with support. My cousin Emma called first. I've watched Aunt Claire and Uncle David do this to you for years, she said quietly. The way they always put Serena first. The way they talked about you when you weren't around. I should have said something sooner. I gripped the phone tighter. What did they say about me? That you were difficult, too sensitive. That Serena needed more help because you were the strong one. It never seemed fair to me. Then came a message from my father's brother, Uncle Mark. Your dad pulled the same stunt with me when we were younger. Tried to move into my first apartment without asking. It's a control thing. Stand your ground. Even my grandmother, who rarely got involved in family conflicts, left a voicemail. I'm proud of you for protecting your home, dear. Some people only learn boundaries when they hit them face first. Most surprising was my Aunt Deborah, my mother's sister. She asked to meet for coffee, and when we did, she slid an old photo album across the table. Your mother has always been this way, she explained, flipping through childhood photos, taking what she wanted, assuming everything was communal property, my clothes, my toys, my friends, later my apartment when she needed it. Claire doesn't understand ownership, not when she wants something. For the first time, I wasn't alone in my experience. I wasn't crazy or selfish or ungrateful. I was just the first to say no. We formed a small group chat, me, Emma, Aunt Deborah, and 2 cousins who'd had similar experiences. We shared stories, offered advice, celebrated small victories and setting boundaries. They became my new family, not by blood or obligation, but by choice and mutual respect. Your house is beautiful, Emma said during her first proper visit. She admired the paint colors I'd chosen, the furniture arrangement, the garden I'd started. It feels like you. Those 4 words, it feels like you, meant everything. My home wasn't just a building anymore. It was proof that I could create something true to myself when freed from my family's expectations, and I wasn't defending it alone anymore. 6 months after the restraining order expired, my phone lit up with an unexpected text from Mom. "We miss you. Can we meet for dinner? Just to talk." My first instinct was to refuse, but my therapist had suggested that maintaining some contact on my terms might be healthier than complete estrangement. So I agreed, with conditions, public place, limited time, and no discussion of my house. We met at an upscale restaurant downtown. I arrived early, deliberately choosing a table near other diners. No privacy for dramatic scenes. Mom looked thinner, Dad more gray. Serena wore a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. They acted delighted to see me, hugging me too tightly, complimenting my hair, my dress, my healthy glow. The first 20 minutes felt almost normal. We discussed safe topics, movies, neighborhood news, Dad's garden. Then Mom reached across the table and took my hand. "Sweetie, we've been doing some thinking about everything that happened." Her voice softened to that familiar, manipulative tone. "We were wrong to push so hard about the house." I waited, sensing the but coming. "But," she continued right on cue, "family should stick together. Especially now." Dad cleared his throat. "The thing is, we're facing some financial challenges. The market downturn hit my investments pretty hard." Serena jumped in. "And my apartment is so expensive. It's really draining my savings." There it was. Not an apology, a setup, not reconciliation, a renewed attempt to access my resources. Mom squeezed my hand tighter. "We were thinking, maybe we could start fresh, visit your place sometimes. Serena could stay occasionally when she needs to save money." I looked at their expectant faces and saw the pattern with perfect clarity. The guilt, the pressure, the assumption that I would fold. But I wasn't that person anymore. I gently removed my hand from Mom's grip. "No." "No," Dad repeated, his voice hardening. "I'm happy to rebuild our relationship, but not in my home. Not yet. Maybe not ever." Serena's face darkened. "After everything we've been through?" "You mean after you keyed my car and tried to break into my house?" I asked calmly. Silence fell over the table. Mom's eyes darted around, checking if anyone overheard. "We should discuss this privately," she hissed. I stood up, placing my napkin on the table. "There's nothing to discuss. I love you, but I don't trust you, and I don't need to listen to this anymore." I grabbed my purse and walked away, leaving them sitting open-mouthed. And with the check. 1 year later, I stood on my wraparound porch watching the sunset. My garden had bloomed beautifully, roses climbing the trellis I'd built, herbs thriving in raised beds, a small vegetable patch producing more tomatoes than I could eat. This was home, truly mine. Every inch reflected my choices, my taste, my vision. Inside, Emma and my Aunt Deborah were setting the table for our monthly dinner club. The tradition had started spontaneously, but quickly became sacred, a gathering of people who respected each other's boundaries and celebrated each other's victories. My relationship with my immediate family had changed dramatically. We spoke occasionally, brief phone calls, holiday cards, rare coffee meetings in public places, always on my terms, never in my home. They tested the boundaries sometimes, but I remained firm. The most surprising change came from Serena. After the car vandalism charge, she'd lost the job offer, then struggled to find comparable work. She'd finally taken a position that paid less than she wanted, but required actual effort. 2 months ago, she'd texted me, "I get it now, having to earn something yourself. It's harder than I thought." Not quite an apology, but an acknowledgement. Progress. My parents had shifted too. Mom still occasionally suggested just stopping by, but accepted my refusal without the guilt trips. Dad had finally admitted during our last phone call that they'd been wrong to make promises to Serena about my property. "We shouldn't have done that," he'd said gruffly. "Your house is yours." 7 words that took 31 years to hear. The healing wasn't perfect or complete. Some wounds would always leave scars. But I'd found something I never knew existed: peace within myself. I thought about the woman I used to be, afraid to upset anyone, constantly seeking approval, giving pieces of myself away until there was nothing left. She wouldn't recognize me now. A woman who bought a house without telling anyone. A woman who defended it against all invasions. A woman who built a life on her own terms. A woman who finally chose herself every single time. Sometimes revenge isn't about payback, it's about peace. And if this story touched you, subscribe right now. Because somewhere out there, another person is watching in silence, needing a reminder that they're not alone, and your one click might help them find it.